Hello YouTube, this is Dave the Mechanic and I'm back again with another video. Today I am changing spark plugs on a 2002 GMC ENVOY. These are the spark plugs we'll be changing today. These are what the spark plugs look like, and this is the 5/8 spark plug socket you will need. This is where we need to get to back here. So I'm going to be removing this portion of the intake right in front of the throttle body. Only thing I'm going to need for this is a flathead screwdriver to loosen up these two hose clamps. Remove this piece right here on this nipple. It's a little air line, vacuum line. Then we're going to undo this or pull it out, this piece here. There's two 10mm bolts that we have to get up. Little small bolts right there. We're going to begin to remove this hose. On it. And once that's off, we can pull this one off. And there's a hose down here. Now that we can lift it, get that off of there. And that's what it looks like. Set that to the side. And now we can see all 6 of our ignition coils. We have to get these up, and then we can reach our spark plugs. First thing we want to do, get a flathead screwdriver. Go ahead and remove all these, not remove, but push back all these safety tabs. Now that the safety tabs are pulled back, we can go ahead and squeeze that tab down and work it off. Just do that all the way down. This will also be a good time if you have a collection of dirt, leaves, or anything in this area to vacuum it out so it doesn't fall in the spark plug holes. In this case, it's fairly clean, so I won't have to do it, but depending on where you stay and what your condition is, you might want to try that. The bolts to get these out is a 10mm. The one over here is a little tricky. You're gonna have to kind of pop this up. These are where all the little tabs are that you need to pop off in order to get this up. It's pretty simple. And now you can see 2 Phillips head screwdrivers in there, or screwdrivers. There's 2 Phillips head screws to be removed, and then we'll be able to lift this a little to access that 10mm bolt. Move those screws out of there. And now we should be able to lift that up just like that. Now we have clearance. So I'm going to use the 10mm socket with a ratchet, and I'm going to break all these bolts free. And then I'm going to use my drill with an attachment to get them all the way out. The two in the back, however, I won't be able to reach that with a drill, so I'm going to get those out the whole way with ratchet, and then just use my hands to get them up. That's one. You don't have to take it all the way out, by the way. Better to leave it in. It's just, you just have to get it loose. And now I can start pulling, gently pulling that up. Alright, so that's the ignition coil from the far back. So I'm going to do the same thing to the other 5. I made sure to keep them in order from how I took them out, so that they go back in the same cylinders. Now that the ignition coils are removed, we can see our spark plugs, and this is a good time to check for any oil or an excess buildup of any oil down in there. That would indicate a leak in valve cover gasket. Everything looks fine. So we have our spark plug socket, an extension, and our ratchet, and we're just going to go counterclockwise. This is actually surprisingly loose. Okay, that one was much more tight. And we're just going to do the same thing up to all 6. Get the spark plug all the way loose and get the spark plugs out. If you have any spark plugs that don't stay in the spark plug socket, if you have a magnet, an extendable magnet, you can always use that to reach down and grab the spark plugs and pull them out. Alright, I got the old spark plugs out. Now it's time to get the new ones in. Just make sure that your spark plugs are gapped to where they need to be. If you're not sure, just go to Google and type in your year, make, and model spark plug gap, and you find a lot of information on there. Now I'm going to start lowering my spark plugs into the holes. This is a neat model because I can actually use my fingertips and start screwing the spark plug in a little bit. So that's what I'm going to do. I mean, if you want to, you can use the spark plug socket with the grommet inside, and just, you know, stick the socket in there and lower it down that way. But this way is pretty simple for me. Actually, I feel like I got it screwed in most of the way. Now that I have them in and practically hand tightened, I can go ahead now and tighten them down with the ratchet. If you want to find the torque specs, you can also find those online. I'll just be hand tightening these with experience. Alright, that's one. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing for all of these. Now we can start reinstalling our ignition coils. Be certain that this rubber boot is aligned and seated properly. And also be sure that you're installing them in the same order that you took them out. Once you feel that it's on top of that spark plug, you can start to screw it down. You just do the same thing for all of them. Once you get them all in and hand tighten, then you can come back with the ratchet and get them snugged up. And just do that for all of them. Now we can start plugging them back in. Just snap them on. Gotta move this Now we can lower this part back down and start putting the screws back in. Now we take this piece and put it back in place. I will start snapping it in from behind, pushing down the back part first. Let those get snapped in, and then push down on the opposite side, and then you're gonna hear those snapping, and then that's back. Now we can start putting these back on, putting our harnesses back on, and pushing down those safety tabs. Get this piece back reinstalled. Try getting this side on at the same time. You want to line up these two parts where your bolt's going to go. You want to line those up while getting this hose clamp part on at the same time. And this hose at the bottom, you want to get that lined up as well. Then we can reattach this hose and hose clamp. Now that everything's reattached, we can use our flathead to tighten those two hose clamps back down. Then we have to get our bolts, our two 10mm bolts, and set those back in. Alright, once the hose clamps are tight and you have your two bolts down, reapply this vacuum line that snaps in. Alright, you have your hose down there. That's nice and snug. Well, that's pretty much it. Now I'm gonna start it up and see how it runs. There wasn't any misfire or anything before, so I'm just making sure that there isn't now, which would mean that everything is connected right. Spark plugs are working fine. Otherwise, most likely a check engine light would come on. Everything seems to be doing good right now. Seems like it's a job well done. And that is how you change the spark plugs on a 2002 GMC ENVOY. If you like this video, like, subscribe, leave a comment. If there's anything that I missed or anything that you think I can do better, let me know as well. Stay tuned for another video coming soon.